Hello, my name is Jason Francis, and for my author discussion, I am going to be examining the life of Langston Hughes. In addition, I will be providing an in-depth analysis of his book of poems in the Weary Blues and how it connects to today's way of expression. To begin, James Mercer Langston Hughes is commonly recognized as a classic American poet, although he is also known for being a social activist, novelist, and a playwright. His career began as a young man in the heart of New York City, as one of the earliest innovators of the then new style of poetry that demonstrates the feel of a jazz-like rhythm. Jazz poetry was Hughes' main focus as an up-and-coming poet. Hughes might have gotten his interest in writing about the period the Negro was in vogue from his father. The senior Hughes left his family and divorced his wife soon after his son's birth to escape the harsh era of racism in the United States. With the hardship of racism that Hughes experienced throughout his teens, he turned his feelings into colorful poetry. As an African American teen growing up in the 1920s, Hughes had a passion for expressing his viewpoint on the rich portrayals of black life in America, which influenced his theme of poetry. According to an article from the Poetry magazine, Hoyt W. Fuller commented that Hughes chose to identify with plain black people, not because it required less effort and sophistication, but precisely because he saw more truth and profound significance in doing so. Langston Hughes began producing his genius in an era much different than today. This era was called the Harlem Renaissance, which was named after the extensive amount of emerging black writers in the 1920s. The Harlem Renaissance embraced the explosion of intellectual and social artistry, allowing the African American community to flourish. While Hughes attended Columbia University in his late teens, he became very involved in the New Negro Movement, an organization that advocated for the refusal to submit quietly to the practices and laws of racial segregation around the country. After dropping out of college to pursue his love of poetry, he became a central figure of the Harlem Renaissance. The Weary Blues, Hughes' first published book of poetry, consisted of poems with regard to the real lives of blacks in lower socioeconomic strata. Hughes was exceptionally passionate about expressing how society divided the African American community based on skin color. His poetry ranged from the stresses of being a working class African American in a segregated society to the joyous moments that proved being a different color should not make one ashamed and fearful, but instead proud and empowered. The United States has vastly improved the severity of racism compared to what it once was, although the struggle for equality still remains. Artists in today's day and age, like Hughes, use methods of projecting their voice just as he did through his poetry. Although poetry does not usually appeal to teens in today's day and age due to technological advancements and the adjustment in interests over time, many popular activists in the 21st century express social injustice through various forms of rebellion and unity. For example, rappers such as Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Jay-Z have all composed music that express the stresses and hardship in which African Americans must overcome in today's society. In Jay-Z's song Spiritual, he voiced the story of two teens that dealt with police brutality. Many artists in today's day and age still share the same goal as Hughes, to bring an end to the injustice of racism.